Hi guys, so in this update we are going to have a look at Goat, who have just received a fresh round of funding. There is talk that Rishi Sunak, the Chancellor, may introduce a 2% online sales tax. Superdry shares got smashed 16% today on the back of their earnings disappointment, whilst Birkenstock is in the sights of a venture capitalist firm who are looking to potentially take it over, and Dr Martens take a big step towards listing on the London Stock Exchange. So I'm actually going to start off with Superdry. So as I said, their shares got smashed 16% today. They gave us a trading update for that all-important trading period that runs through to the end of the year, and actually it was 11 weeks to January the 9th, so it just encompasses the first week and a bit of the new year. So what went wrong here? Now, Superdry are famed for their outerwear, so jackets and coats, etc. And the big problem we have at the moment is we're in lockdown, so people are hardly going to be rushing out and buying new coats, etc. To just be able to walk around the block. So there's a problem right there. You could argue that there are big problems with their brand generally, but this is an issue with what they're concentrating on selling. Now, from an online perspective, which is the all-important area that we've seen during 2020, they did say that that's risen to about 50% of their total revenues. But the quarter before last, the strength we saw in online there didn't flow through into the quarter we've just finished. So there was a bit of disappointment there. Social distancing has seriously hurt their footfall. That's when the stores that have been allowed to open up. They had to renew their lending facilities with the banks. I had to go to the bank manager just to sort of reassure them, etc., to make sure they had money available to be able to continue to being a going concern. With regards to an outlook, they didn't give a proper outlook for 2021. They said that significant uncertainties remained and they could see continued revenue weakness. What they're doing at the moment, the founder who left the business has come back. His name is Dunkerton is his surname. He is resetting the business. It's called their brand reset. They are continuing with that process. They talked about supply chain disruptions, and that caused a bit of push out for them getting that autumn winter new stuff coming through. They did towards the end of last year sign an underwear deal with Neymar, so they are still really pushing hard. They've got a sports sort of a standalone, if you like, sports bit within Superdry that they are pushing as well, with a former Nike executive coming over to start that up a few years back. On the subject of online stuff, there is some chatter that Chancellor Exchequer Rishi Sunak may be looking to implement an online sales tax. They're talking about 2% tax on all online sales. That would equate to about £2 billion per annum of much needed money. The advantage of online business over bricks and mortar is that if you're online, fine, you have your warehouse, etc., but you don't have rent or maintenance to pay on a shop front. So we saw the likes of ASOS, Boohoo were down sort of 4 or 5% today. Generally, all the retailers were off, but these online only platforms that would potentially get hurt by this were seeing a little bit more of a sell-off. Goat, now hot on the heels of StockX at the end of last year raising $275 million, Goat have announced today a fresh round of funding. The announcement didn't include how much they have raised this time around, but when they did their last round, which was in September 2020, they got $100 million from a company called D1 Capital, which valued the Goat business at $1.75 billion. So who's invested this time? Group Artemis. So that's founded by somebody called Francois-Henri Pinault, who runs a company called Kering. Now, Kering control Balenciaga, they control Alexander McQueen. They also recently spun off Puma, and they still own a small portion of Puma, but Pinault himself, in his own Artemis fund, which is basically his his own money, owns 28.5% of Puma still. So he's very well connected within sneakers as well as in luxury wear too. So I said this, the valuation previously in September was 1.75 billion. There's obviously now this raising on top. Previous investors include Foot Locker, who invested just over a year and a half ago. They own Flight Club as well. They're going to be using this money, this fresh money, to expand their apparel business, as well as looking at new categories to move into. Obviously, we've seen StockX moving away from, well, still doing luxury handbags, watches and sneakers, but they moved into electronics with the launches of the PS5 and the new Xbox. So we may see a similar thing with some new categories from GOAT. I mentioned in one of my last videos recently about Crocs. They had very, very stellar numbers and the shares moved to an all-time high. They're actually, Crocs shares are up 20% year to date. That's since the 4th of January. They're up 20%. They're clearly been a lockdown work from home type winner. Another name that has been mentioned a bit in 2020, because they do sandals, etc., is Birkenstock. And there was a headline that came out today that they are potentially being looked at by a venture capitalist firm that may be looking to buy them for a whopping 4 billion euros. Now that would give them a very similar market cap to Crocs. And as I say, Birkenstock, not even necessarily everybody's cup of tea, but List, who are that luxury platform that look at sales as well as searches, etc. There's been Birkenstock products in a number of quarters in 2020 on their most wanted list. So clearly some pent-up demand for some of the sandals, etc. And last but by no means least, we talked about this late last year, but Dr Martens, who have been looking to list on the stock market in London. They're one step closer now. They're talking about a valuation in the region of 4.5 billion euros. They're currently owned by Permira, and to give you an idea, Permira bought them in 2014 for 380 million euros. That's not a bad payday at all. And Permira will be looking to sell off a portion of Dr Martens and keeping hold of the majority of their stake. That's it for now. Hope you enjoyed the update. If you've got any questions, please let me know.